Hi, this is Carrie Brownstein.
This is DJ Premier.
This is Darren Aronofsky.
You got the RZA right here.
Rose McGowan.
Radiohead.
Aisha Tyler.
Tribe Called Quest.
Fred Armisen.
Fritz Paul.
Javier Munoz. Seth Meyers.
Frankie Cosmos.
Flying Lotus.
Hi, we're Chaim, and you're listening to the Talkhouse Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Talkhouse Podcast. I'm Josh Modell. On this week's episode, we've got a rare but not totally unprecedented pairing of a couple, by which I mean boyfriend and girlfriend, for lack of a better word, in conversation. Both fantastic songwriters, Briston Maroney and Samia. Now, Briston Maroney is an earnest, powerful songwriter who first caught attention via American Idol, weirdly. But perhaps lucky for him and us, he didn't ride that appearance into the pop world. Instead, over the past decade, Maroney has built a solid catalog of personal songs that include folk and indie rock influences, but they could really play anywhere people like a good tune. His latest album is called Ultra Pure, a word he uses to describe those incredible moments in life that you might not even know you're experiencing until they're gone. Check out a little bit of the song Body from Ultra Pure, right here.
Sleeping in parking lots and missing all my friends. Oh, I remembering what I forgot when I was a kid. Shake the dust and breaking and defining all my innocence and wondering aloud if I would do this again. But it seems the closest that I'll ever be.
The other half of today's conversation is Maroney's partner of the past few years, the singer and songwriter Samia. She's a bit more interested in the darker sides of life than Maroney, as you'll hear them laugh about in this conversation. Her latest album, Honey, features bitter breakup songs that will strike right at your heart. It's no wonder she's been compared to the likes of Phoebe Bridgers and Lucy Dacus. But Samia has her own thing going, and for my money, Honey is one of 2023's best albums. Check out a little bit of the intensely fantastic Kill Her Freak Out right here.
I've never been this bad. Can I tell you something? I've never felt so unworthy of loving. I hope you marry the girl from your hometown, and I'll fucking kill her, and I'll fucking freak out.
Though they lived together, this conversation took place on different continents, as Samia was at their now former home in Nashville. They just moved to LA, as you'll hear, while Maroney was on tour in Europe. They joke at the outset that they hadn't spoken in 2 years, but really they're in constant contact and know each other super well. They chat about horror movies, their dog camera, and how writing in the same physical space might lead to accidental song theft. Enjoy.
All right, I feel like, if you don't mind, I'd like to just go ahead and hop into my questions.
I would love nothing more.
So just for the listener to know, Sam and I haven't spoken in 2 years leading up to this, so that it all feels very fresh. So
It's been brutal.
If there's nerves, it's because of that. Okay, ready for your first question?
I don't know. Do I have a real choice?
Okay. Hey, hey, Smarty Pants. No. Where'd you get that brain of yours? Okay, can I actually ask a serious one?
Yeah.
Any chance you'd be so kind as to spare a moment and tell me what the hell your songs are about?
Most of my songs are about my dad.
Okay, well that's actually
Not
perfect.
for I'll leave it.
Well, that leads perfectly into my next question, which is,
okay.
When you write a song that isn't about me, why is that so?
Because I actually have a really good answer to this question. Because you've done nothing to deserve it. And
yeah, that's true.
I only write songs when I'm upset.
That is true.
Not everyone is as naturally gifted as you are at writing songs about almost anything at any time.
Well, that's sweet of you to say. I do remember when we first met, I was like, worried is the wrong word, but I remember being like, oh my God, I feel like maybe I'm insane because I really like this person and I'm like spilling these love songs out, and then you hadn't like written a whole lot of
nothing in return.
Well, yes, that is a way to phrase it, but it was like sweet.
But then we talked it through and I insisted that it's a good sign.
Yeah. And now I can truthfully believe that, but it took me a long time to trust that.
Even my songs about you, my love songs about you are like, soon you'll find out that I'm not all I'm cracked up to be and you'll leave me. Or or when will this all go wrong? You know?
I like that most of them are like the first half is a love song, and then the back half still is like, the mausoleum of my family tree.
Or like, thanks for loving me even though I'm a monster.
Yeah. It'll be like, I was holding your little brother at church with your family. Can you believe the monsters living inside of my ears, and they come out and they feed on my dreams?
And then it goes, and I wish there was a God.
yeah, exactly. And then I'm like,
and you help me believe in something.
And then on all my songs, it's like, Sammy, Sammy, I love you so much. Right, Sam?
That's our balance. Hopefully that's what leads to longevity here, you know?
Perfect.
The push and pull.
Okay, perfect segue into my next question, which is actually not really a question. I just wanted to say, if you ever need space around the house, just let me know. I'll make sure to clear the way and find something else to do for the day.
Thank you. That's really sweet. Something about me is I've never needed space one time in my life. I hate to be alone, and I want you to be as near to me as possible at any given time.
We do. Yes, we both share that passion.
I don't know. You're good at being alone.
I think that it's a front. I think the older I get, the less good I am at doing it.
Well, then you're a good actor.
Thank you. Now this is true.
Do you want me to ask you a question now, or do you have more?
I only have one
You were like
more.
prepared to be inundated with my long list of questions.
Well,
my never-ending list.
When you write a song because we live together, are you ever afraid that I will steal it and say that it's my song?
No, but I did that to you once on accident.
Really?
Yeah, in one of my songs I say every single thing has already been said. And it's because subconsciously I had heard the demo of your song where you say that but different. Ain't nothing
I said it
that ain't been said.
in Nashville boy language. There ain't been nothing ain't been said before.
Yeah.
I wish that I was.
But yours is better and the original.
Well, but no one could ever do it quite like you. You have a great way of saying things that are familiar in your own unique way. I do think that is something we're both plagued with, is an intense fear that we've chosen a job that requires like constantly needing to be able to say something in an original way, whilst we are just two individuals that doubt that that's possible every second of every day as well.
Yeah, definitely an obsession with originality that we bond over.
I think that's something that you have helped me really shape my relationship with. In the time that we've known each other, I think you've helped me see that originality is just, I think, more closely related to honesty than it is to like being groundbreaking.
Oh, yeah. I just feel like you've always done such a good job of that. That's something I learned from you all the time. I think that's true vulnerability, is the willingness to share your feelings, even if they've been said before, you know? And like not try to embellish them.
There ain't been nothing they've been said
or
before.
like make them more interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. What are you doing?
I'm walking around in circles in the little sunroom that we've never used.
I did that photo shoot at the house with the dog for the dog magazine. And when I was giving the people, the tour, and I was like, yeah, this is our little back room that we never really use. And I shit you not, the person was like, yeah, I can tell.
Yeah, I mean, I see why they can tell. It looks like
trash
it's
bag
just covered in cobwebs.
And a pair of underwear and dirt.
The shovel that I used to remove the dead squirrel from our yard. Okay, I have some questions for you. Are you ready? Okay. If you could have the band always cover any of your songs, which one would it be?
Your questions are serious?
I don't know. This is so stressful because I'm so used to talking to you without thinking or like monitoring myself at all.
That's what I'm doing.
And I'm so scared of what's going to come out of my mouth.
Well, for context, that's like my favorite band of all time. For the unknowing listener. Probably I have a song called Bottle Rocket that Samia, do you know that song? I think it'd be cool with the big like shoegazy guitars. It's like pretty on the nose, but it'd be fun to hear them do their big crazy like swelling, reverby thing, because that's what I like.
Okay, love that. And my other question that I have prepared is, when was the last time you saw a show and then went home and had to write songs because the show was so good?
You and I saw our friend Jack Van Cleef play
Oh, yeah.
a like release show, and I remember we both came home and like separately went into bedrooms and started writing and trying to convince ourselves that we still had it.
I think that's probably everyone's reaction to Jack Van Cleef.
Yeah, I think that's true. Definitely like a writer's writer.
I yelled at him at Paradise because I just said, have you ever written a bad song? And your whole thing is unfair. And I don't want to be around you because it makes me feel horrible about myself.
That's crazy. That's so similar to what you said to me the first time that we ever met.
I was thinking it, but I was playing it cool.
You were. So cool that I thought that you didn't like me, question mark?
That's horrible.
It's not horrible.
I just liked you so much that I wasn't letting anything out for fear that it would be the last thing, you know?
I felt the same way. I do think it's really funny, like the classic like rom-com dynamic of the two people meeting each other, and on the first date they're like giving each other shit and like being pretty like rough around the edges, like intentionally, like keeping that wall up. Neither one of us are capable of doing that sort of thing, so we were both like, oh my gosh, it's so nice to meet you. Like, we were like really, really sweet.
Giggling a lot. I do think that my fear of being too much causes me to do too little a lot of the time.
I don't know if that's true.
Do you ever feel that way?
About you?
No, in general.
Yeah, I totally think that's something we got to work on.
3.5 years in, like,
no, I'm just kidding.
Maybe we don't talk enough.
I think I get really internal in a way that I like work through the whole process of like, okay, this part of me is too much, therefore I can never reveal it. Like, and I'm better off to just like get out of everybody's way. Whereas I think you, and tell me if I'm wrong, I feel like you feel that shame or like that self-criticism and then are like, and now I owe it to the world to make sure that everyone else is so happy, like that my shame could never permeate. You know what I mean? Not to completely, I don't know, it's your life that we're talking about. But yeah, just knowing you well, I know that you really prioritize making sure everyone's okay all the time. And I feel like that shows in your music.
I think you have a correct read on that. But I feel like they're both in place of just like saying the thing that's on your mind.
Yes.
You know?
Which had
hiding and overcompensating.
Which I feel like took us years to even figure out, just in like the friendship context of our relationship, was just trusting that we could say whatever. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Look at us now on a podcast.
On a podcast. So kids, it all works out. Just trust the process. And if you're lucky enough, you'll do a podcast with the love of your life.
Yes. We said it. Okay, I have more questions. You ready?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you believe that a deterministic world is compatible with free will?
Are you drunk?
And the other question is, why do you think you like horror movies so much?
Okay. First off, in order to answer the first one, you're going to need to repeat it probably twice because there's so
we
many
don't need to. We don't need to talk about.
Well, okay,
that.
let's do the horror.
I feel like.
Let's do the horror one.
Why do you think you like horror movies?
Well, first off, guess what we're doing tonight?
You can go see a horror movie?
I don't know if this will date the episode or something, but we're going to see the Five Nights at Freddy's movie.
Whoa. Oh, we saw a trailer for that.
I feel like you closed.
Scary.
Yeah, should be good. I watched Suspiria the other night too. I told you that. I can't stop telling people that.
I gotta watch this, but you made me.
Oh my God, you would hate it.
You piqued my interest, but I'm scared. I just can't do that and then be alone.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so strange. I feel like I have such a strong tolerance for it, and then randomly there'll be a day where it like every horror movie I've ever watched like hits me at the same time, and I start thinking about how it applies to being alone in our house and having to do laundry in the basement, and then I'm like literally paralyzed with fear. I feel like that's a very logical reaction. Like that makes sense why like most healthy-minded individuals probably would feel that way.
But you had a good explanation for why you like it. I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, you've asked me. That's a very sweet question that you've asked before. It's even changed a little bit. Like we went and saw Beau is Afraid together, which was a really awesome 30-minute experience until I looked over and there were tears streaming down Samia's face silently, like a fourth of the way through the movie. And I was like, we are going to leave this place.
I didn't like that movie.
Yeah, not good.
Didn't like that movie at all.
I think I completely understand why. I think like that's a good example though. I think swallowing the pill for me personally, like I am just such a like anxious person in general that is like, I think we both have kind of obsessive anxieties about different things. So I think sometimes horror movies help me like see other people go through that process of like having to confront a literal nightmare in an hour and a half period of time. Like there's a process to it. And like, even if the ending isn't good or like a positive outcome, it's just like helpful for my brain to watch somebody at least get through a thing. Cause I think that's the part of life that stresses me out the most.
It's almost always worse than whatever it is you're afraid to confront.
Totally. Oh my God.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Or like, just comparatively.
Yes, 1,000%. Like we're on tour in the UK right now, and which you know.
There's other people. There's other people involved here.
That's where I've been. If you've been curious, but sorry, I'm yelling also. But
that's okay.
I was so stressed because we're moving right when we get back, and there's just like a billion things that I was thinking about needing to like take care of, and then watching Suspiria the other night like genuinely consumed so much of my brain power to be like, okay, how do I avoid accidentally joining a dance group that is run by a bunch of witches? Like I was so worried about that thought process that I was like, oh cool, like that makes needing to sell some guitars and like power wash the driveway seem really, really achievable.
I'd never even considered there was like a whatever it is dance group of evil witches that I like, and now it's lodged in my brain permanently, like in a sea of other things that I've been accumulating my whole life to be afraid of. Yeah, which maybe the dam will just like burst, and maybe if I fill it up with even more stuff, it'll just sort of like overflow, and then I'll be afraid of nothing. I'm
down to experiment.
I thought that's what my brain is blocking the name of this movie because that's how horrible it was.
A guy who's scared. An experience. You don't have to say it again.
Joaquin Phoenix is in the bathtub and he's upset.
Yeah, if you've seen that movie, the scene where he's in the bathtub and there's the guy on the ceiling. I don't want that.
I don't want that to happen to me. I don't want to experience that.
And I 1,000% would never wish that.
But I thought that's what was going to happen with that movie. Is I was like, okay, this is my worst nightmare. It's just like a series of horrible things happening.
I'm gonna flip the hot microphone your way.
Okay.
Your interest in reality TV is kind of the same amount of your brain as my interest in scary stuff. So what is it about like the Love Islands and Love is Blind and the like that realm of reality TV that draws you in so much?
Well, I don't like Love Island and Love is Blind because it's too real. I don't want to watch people have relationship problems. I like the Kardashians because it's so different from my experience that it's like escapism. You know what I mean? I like to go away into a world where like it doesn't make me think about my own problems really at all. Mm-hmm. I was just talking about this the other night with some people where like books for me are about getting smarter and TV is about getting dumber. And I wish I had better taste in TV because I know there's some like really incredible stuff out there. But books are for the morning with my coffee.
Yeah.
And TV is for like turning it off.
Sure.
You know?
Is it important to you to feel like you're making progress or like achieving something in a day?
Yeah, like I like to feel like I'm growing, accumulating knowledge in some way during the day.
Yeah.
Or like actively working my brain.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but I have to wind down or else I'm up all night and it's still just like never ending chatter in my subconscious.
Is that hard?
I tried to write a song last night before bed and then I was up all night because my brain was still like circulating material. Does that happen to you? I feel like you can just fall asleep.
Well, yes.
I maintain that is the best superpower to have if you're a touring person. That's like the number one thing every touring person wishes they had.
Okay, but that's the thing. I can only do that when I'm home with you. I can't do that on the road.
Really?
Yeah, that's why touring gets so hard. Like after like 4 or 5 days, I'm like perpetually tired because I feel like I've been so anxious during a show day, and like the second the show is over, I'm like, oh my God, I wish I had chilled out any time in the last hour and a half to actually enjoy that. Now I have the energy from playing a show, but I don't feel like I've actually reaped the benefits of it because I've just been so in my head. So then I come back to like hotel or whatever, and then I try to watch something stimulating, and then I end up watching something that eventually scares me or makes me think too hard or angry or something or miss you. And then I'm like, well, this like now my internal clock is completely... You're good at going to sleep on tour though, huh?
Kind of, but I have to have the TV on or people in the room.
Yeah.
If I'm alone with any level of like agency, it's over.
Yeah.
I'm up all night.
This happens.
You know, if I don't want to hear my own thoughts almost ever, but definitely not at night.
I get so annoyed with my own thought process, like especially when I'm writing, which I'm trying to chill out about. I'm trying to not be so affected by that. But my own internal dialogue or whatever like pisses me off so frequently. I just start thinking of myself the way that somebody who would listen to my music that hated it would start thinking.
Well, I think that starts the first time you get like criticized. Mm-hmm. And then that voice, I mean, unless you are stronger than me, which I'm sure a lot of people are, like it's really hard to distinguish that voice from your own critical self and your own taste.
Yes.
I have a really hard time with that. I've like sort of lost track of what I like. I've been on a journey in this past year to like figure out what I truly like, or if it's possible to like have your own set of tastes, like separately from your environment and things that have been like programmed into you. I've been trying to like strip away the other voices, if that's possible. But you do such a good job of that. I think you're one of the few people I've met in my life who's like so certain of what you think is good, even if everyone in the room disagrees.
Which does happen quite often.
You just have no shame liking something, even if, which I think is the coolest thing a person can.
Thanks. I think I had the benefit of being in a different environment growing up, like as far as music goes. Like my dad's side of my family plays music, like sorta, like my dad and my grandpa did. Like, but I just didn't have any, like outside of them, I was kind of the only kid in my school, other than like a handful of really awesome, like, you know, upperclassmen in high school that like turned me on to cool music. Like I had the luxury of just being in a place where I was like able to discover a lot. Like I didn't have a whole lot of outside influence as far as like what my taste was in music and movies. And we like kind of lived, you know, like in a pretty like wooded area in this like cool house where I could just hang out and like discover what I liked on the internet. I feel like you grew up between LA and New York, you know, in these environments where you were adjacent to these big scenes. And I'm sure that was crazy when you were younger. Just the stories you told me about like the kids that you looked up to and stuff, like they all had really specific interests. They were all really like, they played in the bands that were cool. I'm sure that was like just a totally different experience.
I feel like everyone has a person that like,
no, I know,
you know, exposed you to more than what your parents were listening to or like what was on the radio.
I definitely had a handful of those that were like super formative. That's an area that I spent a lot of time thinking about, like the concept of maintaining that initial voice that like jump started everything as far as my relationship with music and jump-started my taste in what I was into, like, while also still trying to develop more as a person. But I just think it's all a circle. Like, it comes back to, like, the songs that I've written in the past 2 years that I've liked the most are the ones most similar to the types of songs I was writing when I first started. And I think the underlying thing is just, like, comes back to what you were saying earlier, just, like, fearlessness and just, like, a confidence in an idea, even if it's an unconfident idea. You know what I mean? Like, I think that original place that you're writing from is, like, always what we're fighting to preserve. But there's just a ton of pressure to be, like, growing and evolving. And sometimes, like, I mean, out of necessity, when I was writing some of those songs that I really dug, I wasn't a version of myself that was, like, as kind to people as I wanted to be, or, like, was as good of a friend as I wanted to be.
It's such a conundrum, because it's like you want to grow as a person, but you don't want to lose the thing that, like, made you want to do this in the first place, or was emotional enough and, like, vulnerable enough to do this thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes it does feel like a choice between, like, personal growth and artistic.
Yeah. I mean, that's like
integrity or, like, preservation or something.
Yeah, 1,000%. That's, like, the thing that everybody who makes art long enough, like, faces. Growth is always really strange. Growth is always really strange. Write that down, kids.
That's true.
Like, when you're watching a show where there's, like, 1,000 seasons of a show, and, like, you've watched the whole thing and you've just progressed and grown with these characters and stuff, like, there's such an odd feeling to go back to season 1 and see where these characters started, you know, and, like, the best stories. And, like, same with the movie, like, immediately finishing a movie and starting it all over again and just seeing a character who knows nothing. When you have the knowledge of how much they've changed and, like, the things you miss about them, like, it's such a bittersweet, like, it's like a licorice taste, the most, like, pointed, like, pungent feeling to see a version of something that just can't be anymore. Like, when you've known too much, but also knowing that if you are able to submit to that change and that growth, that there can be more beauty beyond that. But yeah, I definitely feel like, to answer the question from earlier that I have not answered yet, I definitely feel like I'm constantly trying to fight for that kid version.
I feel like that stuff is, like, inextricably linked with nostalgia too. It's like when I find, I'll always love whatever the first record is or the first song is that I heard from an artist the most, because it was the first time I experienced their voice, right. You know?
Totally.
Even if it was their 5th record or their whatever, you know?
Which I had that yesterday with the new Mitski.
What do you mean?
Like, I had obviously, like, heard some of the songs before, not off that record, but, like, some of the earlier stuff. But then yesterday this is just a fun little sidebar. But yeah, I just listened. That was the first Mitski record that I'd listened to, like, start to finish.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know how we never talked about that. But I mean, you know, like, the couple of songs that I knew and, like, loved, but, like, it, like, blew my mind. And it was really crazy to be like, this feels like my Mitski album now. Like, this feels like my put on my headphones, walk down the street and feel like personal connection to this record. And it was, you know, it's so deep in the catalog. Like, it was really cool to have that moment. Sorry, total sidebar.
No, that makes me think about, I was joking with one of our mutual friends about how Blue Banisters is your favorite Lana record, which isn't that, like, that's inherently funny. Like, that's one of the greatest records I've ever heard in my life.
Okay.
But, like, it's just, what'd you say?
I was going to say, I don't know if I can curse. I was going to say, fuck y'all. Blue Banisters is great.
But it's cool because it's, like, an underrated Lana record, right? And
totally.
it's your favorite because it was your introduction to Lana.
Totally.
Do you know what I mean?
Even being, like, 2 full-length albums deep into getting to put out records, like, the idea of somebody hearing this record first and, like, hopping on board, it's like, that's so invigorating. Like, it feels like you're getting an opportunity to restart someone's you know what I mean? Like, someone's catching you in such a fresh period of time. Like, that's so invigorating and so related to that thing we were just talking about, like, which I guess confirms the theory that you are always fighting for that, like, initial version of your artistic self because it was fresh and because it was, like, a living, breathing thing. Like, yeah, I don't know. That made more sense in my head than it probably did coming out of my mouth, I guess is what I'm saying.
But I thought it sounded smart.
Thanks.
I'm trying to think of what my other question was to you. Do you have any more for me?
For anyone who doesn't know that we have a dog, that's going to sound like you were just having your own little interaction with yourself.
There was a dog. Something that is disturbing to me is that I keep forgetting to unplug the Furbo. Then I get to watch back like my behavior when I think no one's watching me on my Furbo dog camera. And it's so disappointing. There's not a moment where I'm not talking out loud to myself or dancing or like singing the musical version of the play-by-play of like what I'm doing in that moment. I
do get a notification every time something happens on there. And just, this is truly candid. Like I don't click on it unless you've told me to click on it because I want to respect your time to do that. Because when you're out of town and I'm home alone, I am like literally walking around like Jim Carrey in The Mask, just like absolutely losing my mind in that house. And if someone was like documenting that, I would be devastated.
I'll just like start yelling halfway through a thought that I'm having about like, do you ever go back and think about conversations that you wish you'd handled differently and then like tried to reenact them?
I saw a Yelp review on the Furbo, which is a dog camera that you can throw your dog treats from, which we were opposed to at first. But yeah, I like read this Yelp review, which is like also my favorite shit in the world are Yelp reviews. Or this was like an App Store review, but it was like of the Furbo.
Oh, you got to talk about your reviews too.
Oh yeah, thanks for the plug. Yeah, the review was like 1 star on the app, and then the review was like, I'm no longer speaking with my brother because he came to watch our dog and didn't know that the camera was there. And when he found out, he felt like his privacy had been violated. And now he doesn't trust me.
Tell the people about Gandalf, though.
Yeah, I would leave Yelp reviews of like only major corporations where basically I would just try to retell the plot of Lord of the Rings from memory. At the time, I don't think I'd even really seen all the movies, but I would go on like a Burger King's reviews and leave like a 500-word review of the second Lord of the Rings movie, not really knowing what happened in that movie. And so if you ever get bored, you can look up my name on Yelp, and a lot of them get deleted, but there's still some really good ones up there. I reviewed a Starbucks one time and said, can someone please help? I left a bag of popcorn in the bathroom. I'll send you my return address if you want.
It's one of the things that makes me like have the biggest crush on you. And I think it's like tied to your musical talent and songwriting abilities.
Thank you.
You know what I mean? What are you going to miss the most about Nashville, do you think?
Oh yeah, we're moving. You go first.
I'm going to miss the pace. I'm going to miss the trails that you've taken me to. Although there's probably some good ones in California that we'll discover. I'm going to miss the Kroger by where we used to live, where they would play like top 40 hits, but without the lead vocals, but they would leave in the background vocal, which seems like an accident, but it's like the background vocals would come in like harmonizing on the bridge.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna miss our friends.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna really miss
totally that too.
I associate friends with all those things you're saying, like, so I guess just like, yeah, just the places that we feel comfortable, just the places that I didn't even realize I was like not having to think about how I behaved or who I was, like, because of the comfort of the friendships that we had in those spots, you know? Like, I think that's what I'm going to miss the most is just the number of places that didn't require putting up any sort of guard, like with the people that we trusted and loved and knew. I mean, we'll see them so much. And I'm on, you know, I get to be on tour with some of my closest friends from there too, so that's pretty sick. But I'm also so excited to try something new. That sounded like a lie.
Yeah, I also like learned to be uncomfortable here in different ways than I've been uncomfortable in other places.
Yeah.
Even somewhere with like maybe less people that I'm used to and a slower pace. It's just like a different way of life here that I had to adapt to, and I'm grateful for that experience as like a tool, you know. 100%. Hopefully like put that towards being able to live somewhere else.
I am excited for just a whole new thing. Like I have a pit in my stomach about it, and I think that's good.
There's something so intimate about talking to the person that you talk to the most.
I know.
But just in front of strangers. That's like, I've never been so nervous in my life. Awesome.
I definitely was.
Thanks for letting us do that.
Thanks for listening to the Talkhouse Podcast, and thanks to Samia and Briston Maroney for chatting. If you liked what you heard, please follow Talkhouse on your favorite podcasting platform and check out all the great stuff at talkhouse.com. This episode was produced by Myron Kaplan, and the Talkhouse theme is composed and performed by The Range. See you next time.